All right. So every agency owner says they want a sales team until they actually hire one. That's been my experience. And the reality is, most agencies don't have a lead problem. They don't have a sales problem. They have a systems problem. Welcome back, everybody. It's me, Ozzy, and
Zack.
together we've built multiple businesses, including Advirtis, where we've helped over 400 marketing agencies scale smarter, grow faster, and escape the chaos that most agency owners get stuck in. In each episode, we're going to break down real conversations by agency owners around topics like sales, operations, hiring, scaling, leadership, the wins, the failures, all of it. And today, we're talking about what it actually takes to build a sales team that consistently brings in business without the owner being on every single sales call. I think this is my favorite topic because you and I both came from, as we scaled our agency, we found we had to fire ourselves from every role. And sales was one of those where, probably one of the last roles that I fired myself from in the last few years. And now it's just like, I think it's more fun for me to like see some, other people in the company like fall into those successful, like sales is just fun in general. So like to see them succeed in selling, like just it's so rewarding personally. But even more so, like we still get to be in some sales calls because they're like big enterprise deals or whatever. But I like that. That's more my cup of tea anyways. I prefer that personally. But I'm excited for this topic. And so like I think one of the first things that come to mind for me is, how do you know it's time to build a sales team for your agency? Like, should you even build a sales team for your agency? That's probably the first, question that you ask yourself as an agency owner or a founder. And so, Zach, I'm going to ask you your thoughts on this. I have my own, but at what point does an agency owner know they're actually ready to hire their first salesperson?
Man, yeah, that's a good question. I think first and foremost, I know you kind of have actually like a system built out of when it's the right time to hire a sales team. I kind of have in my mind when is the wrong time to hire a sales team, which would probably correlate to your list. I've had a lot of agency owners ask me, I'm really excited about the growth of my agency. We've been getting a ton of referrals. I'm just going to hire a sales rep to like handle those referrals. It's like, okay, that's cool, right? That's good. But what are they going to do after they handle all those referrals in like a week? Or they do all their follow up for that day. Where are they going to do next? Do you have a pipeline of previous business? Do you have a lead funnel where you're getting leads consistently throughout the month, throughout the week, throughout the day? Do you have a list of contacts that you can follow up with that maybe ghosted you? Like what work are they going to do? And don't hire a salesperson if your idea is, well, I don't know, that'll be their job to figure out. They'll reach out to all these people and generate all this net new business magically without being the owner, without having frame, with being new to your business, without having like complete understanding of all the services you offer. Like that is wishful thinking. And it's something that we've seen a lot of agencies fall into where they will hire a person expecting that person to bring the systems with them,
Yeah.
but you need to have systems prior to that
Mm.
person can come in and operate.
Yeah. We call it the Advertis way, right? Like, it's,
Yeah, yep.
and, as an agency owner, you all find that you have your own version of how you like to do things, whether you're an agency owner or you're any sort of business owner, honestly, there's not one HVAC company out there that is the same, right? And it's because they have their own internal processes, their own way of doing things, their own standards. And same thing with your agency, right? And so like, any role you hire, whether it's sales, a specialist, account manager, like whatever the role is, even your management roles, you have a standard for each role and an understanding of what their responsibilities are for. And I think it's common, like as an agency owner, that the founder is going to lead the sales at first, no matter what. Dude, we know $20 million agencies that the founders are still selling everything, basically. Like,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
They still very much founder led sales. And then everything else kind of trickles down to, another member of the team that they've hired out to hire and manage. But the sales, the sourcing the deals, finding the deals, closing the deals, that still can very much be founder led, can very much be CEO led if you're charging enough. But if
Yeah.
you're not charging those higher rates, then
That's
it gets pretty difficult.
in today's world, like a lot of those agencies, they've been around or they've been in the industry for 20 plus years. They have a
Yeah.
network that they've kind of built a reputation with. And
Yes.
I think that these newer agencies and even these mid agencies who've been around for 10 to 20 years,
Mhm.
like they need a system so then they can take more risks. You know what I mean? Like when it comes to increasing payroll and, having the right team in place for the delivery side. And so, like sales, it unlocks something for you as a business owner when you have the right sales team that allows you to take more risks because you have a top of funnel that's filled up. It allows you to see ahead and plan ahead a little more, like a little easier, I think, personally. Even for us, we didn't actually start calculating net new sales as part of our budgeting until probably like the last 2 years because we were so conservative in that we didn't want
Yes.
to.
Yeah.
But, you know, a business owner asking yourself, when is the right time for me to build a sales team? Honestly, I think you nailed it on the head. When you actually have consistent revenue coming in, like it's consistent leads, whether that's you've built your own top of funnel. For us, we built an outreach campaign that allowed us to start kind of scaling up and needing more people to manage that. That was honestly, our first hires were like appointment setters, really. And you can outsource that in the beginning, like just to kind of build out. But I think that first role usually is you're replacing yourself out of appointment setting. So we did that and we replaced that. Then next would be closers. So people who actually come in, do the discovery call, do the audits, do the strategy, send the proposals, do the follow up, actually get the deals closed. And then your
And
third,
then billing and invoicing and then setting up the, onboarding call to hand it off to service delivery and operations, the closers doing a lot of that. Yeah, very important.
yep. And then the account managers, which is like your retention, the people who are up there upselling and cross selling inside the accounts, trying to increase the demand and the retention for the current
Yep.
client that you've actually already sold, right? And then,
Yep.
so there's like the three levels of sales that I really like to kind of, when I look at a sales team for an agency, it's the appointment setter, the closer, and then the account manager to retain it.
Yes, and well, let's talk about the reasons for each of those different 3, right? So, the appointment setter, their job is to just get somebody who had no idea about who you are, no idea about the services you offer, to trust you enough just to get on a call with a closer, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's hard. You are trying to earn trust out of thin air. That's really hard. Closer's job is to get that person spend their first dollar with you. That
Mm-hmm.
first dollar is very difficult first dollar to spend because again, they barely know you. They're trying to trust you. They're trying to understand if they're going to get the value for what they're going to buy. They're trying to weigh the cost and the risk. So once they agree to spend that first dollar with you, right? Whether it's like a single retainer, a single project, a website, big or small, doesn't really matter. Just get them to trust you to spend their first dollar with you. Then the account manager. The account manager's role is really important for retention and to show up and to cross sell and to upsell into new opportunities because account manager, their job is to fulfill and make good on whatever was promised,
Mm-hmm.
to under promise, to over deliver. And then a new buying window opens up 30 to 90 days later, where it's like, hey, did we do a good job launching that campaign? Did you get the leads that you were hoping for? Yes, it's been working out great. I'm just now trying to see if there's anything else we can do. Well, I have an idea for you. Have you also thought about omni-channel advertising? Have you thought about this?
Mm-hmm.
Have you thought about that? Cross sell and upsell, and now be the account manager who will loop it back to the closer. And then the account manager and the closer will tackle it. And it should be this loop, right? You should be able to increase your lifetime customer value, your LTV or your LCV, so that you're not just selling them a single campaign, a single package, a single retainer. You want to be able to be cross selling and upselling multiple services from multiple angles for multiple reasons, right? Trying to get the most out of that single lead.
Well, what I think is funny is a lot of times you'll hear from different industries, different types of clients. There's a hex on salespeople. Like people don't like to be sold. They're like, "You're being." My favorite quote last week was, "So and so's being very salesy," and I don't do that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Guys, all right. If you own an agency, okay, and you're dogging on somebody else who's being salesy, whose job is to be
Is
in
to
sales,
sell.
you you haven't been in sales long enough. I'm sorry, dude.
Yeah.
Like you
Oh,
haven't
yeah.
sold enough, you haven't gone to pitch enough, you haven't had enough rejections, enough no's. Like that was Ozzy and I in the very beginning. We're like, All right, what's our close ratio? 20%. Okay. We need somebody to tell us to go F off 5 times
Yeah, yeah,
in order to
yeah.
get one no.
My
So
favorite,
let's go
my
find five
favorite
no's.
My favorite is when sale agencies, which most agencies have a high close rate. And I feel like that's more common, but it's because they're underpricing themselves in the market, or
It's
they
only warm referrals.
they only have referrals coming in. That right, and that's most agencies. So they have like a 70% close rate, and so then when they finally build the top of funnel, and they're like, "Well, I only have like a 10 to 20% close rate." It's like, yeah, welcome to the actual like where you actually build a business.
Yes, you're not just going to be able to coast by on referrals for the rest of your life. You need to
No,
build a system,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And that system is, by the way, this will be another topic, right? But just choose a system. One to many, one to one. Don't really care. Just double down, choose a system. Like Ozzy said, we
kill it.
chose one to one direct messaging on social platforms. And we said, we are going to tell you that Advirtis exists. Do you need our help? And of course, you mess with the messaging and the offer and the hooks and all that sort of stuff. That's great. But
You
we
get a lot
double
of
down
no's,
on that. We get a lot of no's.
a
We
lot.
get a lot of no's. Probably our response rate was atrocious. What was our response rate? Like 10?
So it depends on the platform, but the platform we use was LinkedIn. It was in the beginning like 18% reply rate, and we got it up to 36%. It stands at 36% today. And then our connection was actually around like 20 to 30% itself.
Yeah.
So
And that was just reply rate, guys. So you're like, okay, that's just getting a reply. Now that I have them on the hook, let's try to get a meeting scheduled, appointment setters, right?
and exactly.
And
That's the point I was kind of getting to as well. It's
yeah,
like when you have these roles broken apart, it allows more productivity in each part of it, right? Each part of the funnel. And that was one mistake that we had made in the very beginning when we started building our sales team, is that we wanted our appointment setters to actually be our closers and our account managers. And just doesn't work, guys.
too much. It was too much.
Yeah. Well,
You couldn't hold them to those performance indicators, and you couldn't even build up like a good commission plan because of it.
right.
All over the place, you know? And usually most people excel at one of those things. They excel really, really well at cold outreach and getting the person to just respond, or they excel really well at closing a deal, or they excel really well at making good on the promise of the deal, but usually
Well,
not all three.
in every part of that funnel from top, from appointment setter to account manager, it requires different energy, right? Let's be honest, the appointment setter really does does a ton of the heavy lifting in the beginning.
Ton
Like
of heavy lifting.
I, I empathize with the appointment setters because you and I have had to build businesses from nothing, and it's a pain, guys. Yeah, we know, we've been in your shoes, we know. But once you get past that point, the closer comes in, then it's just educating, then it's just nurturing, and then the account manager, man, they get it made. They're legitimately just tossing out ideas and like strategizing real
Yes.
time with the client. They've already earned the
Yeah.
trust. You know,
Oh,
it's so different.
we launch your Google ads. Have you also thought about Bing? I haven't thought about Bing. Is there a market there? Well, let me do some research and let me see. And trust is already made. And now that that first dollar has been spent, it's much more likely that the other dollar will be
So I
spent
think
as well.
answering that question, it really what stands out is your agency ready for a sales team? It really starts with identifying where you currently stand as an agency. Are you consistently, do you have leads coming in consistently? And there's three, for us, there's different channels of getting leads. For us, we enter reseller market. That's how Advertis goes to market. Another is having a referral system, not just getting referrals, but having a system in place.
Hmm.
That's a whole other episode, by the way, guys. We'll probably cover. And then the third is obviously the top of funnel, right? Like building your top of funnel. That's your outreach systems, and then your inbounds. So right, like doing content. So that would be your fourth. Doing content like this, having paid ads, having marketing funnels to create inbound leads to your website, through your landing pages, whatever, and then having a system for how to handle those inbounds, right? And then as you fill up that demand, then you hire appointment setters. Then as you get more discovery calls, you hire a closer, and then you kind of scale. And then once you get more accounts on, you hire your account managers, et cetera. And so it doesn't have to be in that order, right? I mean, we honestly hired an account manager, like one of our first hires, really.
Hmm.
But ultimately, it allows you to kind of see, where am I at as an agency owner, and when can I build a sales team successfully, right?
Yes.
Once you have that, then you can start building systems around your needs. So for me personally, when I was building our sales team, it was hard to measure their KPIs because they were doing everything. And then eventually it was like, okay, we got to break these apart so I can start holding them accountable to this part of the funnel, basically. And that's how we scaled it up. But guys, you know, this week's episode is a little shorter, but honestly, I think this is going to be a multi-part series. We're going to kind of go through, and I think next week we're going to talk about probably like what to measure as far as KPIs for these roles. Those 3 roles very specifically. We're going to talk about the compensation plans. I think that that's going to be a nice discussion point in how we create comp
People
plans.
have to be incentivized. They're not just gonna
Yes.
do it just for the hope of landing like 2 deals a year, right? They
Mhm.
need something more consistent.
And then I think, lastly is going to be based on the future of agency sales, especially with AI and where things are going. It's allowing people to have that more personable approach, and people don't like to be sold, just what we talked about earlier. So there's ways to kind of go about that, and that we're seeing in market and these trends that I think's been really helpful. And I would even say, I would even kind of share like how to find vendors and people to help you in the sales process will definitely be another topic as well. So lots to cover in this series. And I think we're just going to create this as a series, but follow along, subscribe, comment below any questions that you might have. We're super excited to share this information as we've grown our agency to be a multi 7-figure agency. And we want to see you become a multi 7-figure agency. So thanks for joining us.